If you're someone that doesn't really know about World of Warcraft, then this probably isn't the video for you, but I do mention other games and how these changes could affect them as well. But after seeing the new expansion's release date announced, it kind of made me think about this issue a little bit more. And that is, are WoW's days numbered at this point? Not necessarily because WoW is a dying game or whatever, but specifically because of the release of Classic WoW. For people that don't know, Blizzard kind of caved in last year and said, okay, we'll make the older version of WoW, Vanilla WoW, playable again, officially. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually super hyped to play Vanilla. Like, I've never had that experience. I really started playing during Kata. I played a little bit in Wrath, but I had no clue what I was doing. So someone like me, I've never experienced pre-LFR gameplay, having to look for groups, raids, or even guilds on your own. And for my viewers that don't really play WoW, LFR, or looking for a group, without that, it basically forces you to be social in the game to get anything done. In the current version of WoW, you just click a button and you're automatically fighting bosses with random people. And you don't really have to say anything the whole boss fight, or the raid even, because you expect people to do their jobs, and usually it works. Which is why people have been so upset in recent years about WoW being so easy nowadays. Because it is. It's stuff like that that makes people want to go back to the old version of WoW in the first place, and I completely support that. The slippery slope that I'm talking about is, once Classic WoW is released, I'm pretty sure there's going to be people like me that want to play both versions of the game. But that's only my plan, because I don't know if I'll like the new expansion or if I'll ever get accustomed to what Classic WoW was. So it's very possible that after I try both versions of the game, I just stick to one of those. And that might not seem like a bad thing at first, being able to choose either or, right? But in reality, if enough people start to choose sides, then the player base will become extremely divided. We've seen this before with old school RuneScape, where the communities are completely divided and want nothing to do with each other. And an argument my friend brought up to me is that bringing back an older version of the game will also bring back older players. And that should compensate for the divide, right? But that only helps the older version of the game. I think that's the reason why old school RuneScape is a little bit more popular than the current version of the game. And if the player base is dramatically lopsided towards Classic WoW, then current WoW might follow in RuneScape's pattern. They'll see that, oh, this game that we're not really patching that much is making us way more money than this other game that we're putting all of our resources into. I mean, Blizzard would be making the same amount of money, or even more, because the older player is coming back, but that's only for the first few months. People will realize that there's less players in each realm because it's so divided, and might stop playing altogether. And I know I said the current version of WoW is pretty antisocial, but you still need people to do anything. I mean, there's already been trouble with queuing times in the first place, and I can only imagine that getting worse if the communities are that divided. I could see them merging realms to compensate for the split player base, but that wouldn't help queuing times because those are already cross-realm. But the thing is, I've heard a lot of talk about, after bringing Classic WoW back for a year or so, people in the community and streamers also want back Burning Crusade, Wrath, or even Kata, and each time they release a different version of the game, the more divided the player base will be. At that point, there will be no truly new content, and people will just get bored. And I think if Blizzard follows that route, it would surely be the end of WoW. And I hope if they do bring back other X-Packs like Burning Crusade and Wrath, then it's really concentrated into like a couple realms. And I would love to play Wrath and Kata again. I think it would be fun for a good while, and they'll find success in it for sure, but I think long term, it's just not a smart decision. I just don't want to see Blizzard giving up on one of their most beloved games just because people want to play older versions of the game. I mean, best case scenario, they do release older versions of the game. WoW has this big revival of popularity, and people do play both versions of the game. But I just don't see that happening for very long. But what do you guys think? Do you think WoW is on its last leg, or is it just a beginning of another chapter? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. With him harassing and assaulting people and just calling it a prank. That being said, I think he's figured out how to time travel, to be honest. Presumably by accident, because he doesn't seem like the brightest person. But we have to get him back to 2015, because who knows what that could do to space-time, and honestly, I just don't want Sandpepper and Prank Invasion to come back and taint YouTube again.
What's going on, guys? Today, I'm doing something different.